Nilabalev Subhadramai, Shishi Gauni Dai Ki Jai, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Śrīmad Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, ISKCON Vrinda Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Gyanti Mirandasya Ginandana Shalaka Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Darati Swapadantikam Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Mahatirya Mahapura Vipurnirmakshati Adamusha Purusha Bhaktagnam Sadasa Sadasatmaga Yalam Krishna Bhagavan Vachamsi Me. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So tonight we'll be discussing the topic of life without conflicts, and actually I was wondering if we have discussed this topic in here. Maybe Param Brahma Prabhu remembers. Have you been to all my classes last time?
I was here.
Did we discuss that topic?
Not really.
Okay.
Meant to do, but somehow it got cancelled.
Okay. Traveling to so many places, I can't remember where did I discuss what. So anyway, this is very interesting topic, and actually it's very relevant for ourselves because, as I keep mentioning, the very first purpose of ISKCON is achievement of unity and peace in the world. And so there is no global peace without peace in the heart and in the mind of the devotees. You know, if we are not achieving peace, we cannot really help anyone. And therefore, contradictory as it sounds, Bhagavad Gita is the greatest book on peace. Even though it was spoken at the beginning of the greatest battle of all times, 640 million people killed in 18 days, as we know. And so we might be wondering, what kind of peace is that? Maybe peace after everyone is resting in peace. But actually Bhagavad Gita, probably for this and many other reasons, Bhagavad Gita continues to, puzzle many people, even scientists. But our philosophy is known as Achintya Beda Beda Tattva. Achintya means inconceivable, and Beda Beda means simultaneous oneness and difference, and Tattva means truth. And so everything in this world is like that. We are simultaneously one with the Lord in quality, but we are different from Him in quantity. And in one sense we belong to this world materially, but spiritually we don't belong to this world. So everything is based on this understanding, simultaneous oneness and difference. And so Bhagavad Gita in this light is also a book more conversation, we can say, in which Krishna at the same time is encouraging Arjuna to fight and kill, but there are many, many verses in which Krishna tells Arjuna that you should see everyone equally, you should not have any enemies, you should live peacefully. And no wonder that Arjuna kept wondering in Bhagavad Gita, how can I peacefully kill people? But yes, this is a reality. Unfortunate reality we're living in this world is explained in Bhagavad Gita 15.7. Krishna says that all living entities are my parts and parcels, Mamaivam Shajivaloke Jivabhuta Sanatana, eternally. And what are they doing? What are we doing in this material world? Manashastani Indriyani Prakritistani Karshati, that we're always engaged in struggle, fighting very hard. And who are the enemies? Krishna says Manashastani Indriyani. Mind and senses are the enemies. So our mind is the greatest enemy in the conditioned life. And so, unfortunately, in this world, like if we talk about life without conflict, externally it is impossible. Like Prabhupada would say, spiritual movement in material world, impossible proposal. And yet we are taking part in spiritual movement in the material world, so we're doing something impossible. So, as some people say, difficult things take time, and impossible things take little longer. So, and of course, there is nothing impossible in the real sense if we become Krishna conscious. And externally it's not possible that the fighting will go on forever. So Prabhupada ki jai. Just consider this very simple fact, that medical fact, that within our bodies there are more than 2,000 kinds of different bacteria, and most of them are capable of killing us. And yet we're still, only 2,000 kinds, the numbers, it's calculated just the numbers of germs on the surface of your skin is greater than the number of people living on Earth planet, right? So you can imagine what's happening inside. And most of them are ready to kill us, and yet we're still living. Why? Because, as we know, there is something which is called immune system, right? And this is the machinery within the body which destroys those bacteria. And so it's unfortunate reality, jiva jivasya jivanam, that in order to live in this world, we have to kill continuously from day one until the last day. We have to murder non-stop, slaughter so many, just to continue our lives. So we're all murderers in here, right? Every breath we take kills millions and perhaps billions of living entities, right? What to do? Every word we say There are so many, we might think, oh, we are, 20, 30 people sitting here, right? That's it. But actually, no, we are billions and billions in here. But most of us are so small, you cannot see them. But these are also living entities everywhere. And so, every word you say is killing so many, right? That's why it's recommended that Kirtaniya Sadahari, always chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Even though these words have killed so many, but at least they heard the holy name at the end, right? So they got benefited from that, by that. And so, it's constant, non-stop struggle for existence. So war is impossible to avoid. Conflicts are impossible to avoid. And so you might say, what then is the subject matter of tonight's discussion or presentation? How do we live without conflict if we are always absorbed in the conflict? And conflict means we struggle for existence and we suffer. And if we are Krishna conscious, then we can live happily, even in the material world. And so this is the secret of Bhagavad Gita. That even in the material world, even despite of all the troubles and conflicts, devotees can live happily under the protection of Krishna. And so this is what Bhagavad Gita talks about in many, many verses. And we'll read one of those verses, and we'll be exploring not just theory, but we'll be exploring certain techniques which are very helpful for living without conflicts in the world of the conflicts. And we'll read one of the verses here from chapter 2. This is contents of the Gita summarized. And it's really unbelievable verse. I mean, the whole Bhagavad Gita is so unbelievable. Just one sentence has unlimited depth to it. And, we could easily discuss it for few days, have a 1 week-long seminar just on one verse from Bhagavad Gita, just on one sentence. But we don't have that luxury, so we'll just touch on few points. So this is text 56. We'll chant the Sanskrit after invocational mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dukkesha nudignamana sukkesha vigataspriha vitaragabhaya krotha stita dirmuniruchyate. One who is not disturbed in mind even amidst the threefold miseries or elated when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear and anger is called the sage of steady mind. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The word Muni means one who can agitate his mind in various ways for mental speculation without coming to a factual conclusion. It is said that every Muni has a different angle of vision, and unless a Muni differs from another Muni, he cannot be called a Muni in the strict sense of the term. But a Sthita Dirmuni, as mentioned herein by the Lord, is different from an ordinary Muni. The Sthita Dirmuni is always in Krishna consciousness, for he has exhausted all his business of creative speculation. He is called Prashanta Nishesha Manorathantara, or one who has surpassed this stage of mental speculations and has come to the conclusion that Lord Shri Krishna or Vasudeva is everything. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Mahatma Sudurlava. He is called a Muni fixed in mind. Such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeeds, and he sees that his miseries, by the grace of the Lord, are minimized to the lowest. Similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of the happiness. He realizes that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. And for the service of the Lord, he is always daring and active, and he is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But the Lord, consequently, he is not at all angry even when his attempts are unsuccessful. Success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. Dukkesha nudvignamana sukeshu vikatas priha vitaragabhaya krathastita dirmuni ruchyate. One who is not disturbed in mind, even amidst the threefold miseries or related when there is happiness, and who is free from attachment, fear and anger, is called a sage of steady mind. So there are a number of very important points in this verse, and the beginning is dukkesha nudvignamana, that when there is dukkha, trouble, you remain equiposed. And we understand that this is a very useful thing, that if you're in trouble and if you lose composure, probably you get into more trouble, right? And we want to practice that, but the next statement is really confusing. Sukeshu vigatas priha, that do not become elated or excited when there is happiness. And we might say, what's wrong with that, right? Why should not we be elated or excited when there is happiness? Well, actually, it is equally dangerous to be too excited. And these are all real stories, right? And the other man, he was in the military, in the army, and he got promoted to a higher rank, and he got so excited he started rolling on the grass, and he broke his neck, and he remained paralyzed from neck downwards for life. So, but there is much more danger than just that to the excitement, because as Bhagavatam, of course, is explaining all these truths, giving very good examples. And I'm wondering if we're called Hare Krishna movement because people move during the class in and out of the temple. as soon as we say Hare Krishna, people start moving. So, yes, there is much more to that fact. And Bhagavatam gives very graphical examples. For example, the fish gets really excited by seeing some, very nice food. Doesn't realize that there is a hook underneath, right? And so this is the model of excitement of this world, right? And I'm sure you've been there, done that. And you all had your own experience that there is something very, very exciting, some really exciting offer, and you decide just to go for it. And then you do not notice that hook. You do not notice that small print at the bottom, that catch, and you get yourself in trouble. Anyone had this kind of experience of getting too excited and then getting caught up in that? So that's the nature of this world. That's why I'm from Russia, and so in Russia we say that free cheese is only available in a mouse trap. And so we have to be, like little more intelligent than fishes or mouses. After all, we are human beings. And we should realize that there is nothing free in this world. And if there is some exciting offer, there must be a catch. There must be a hook, right? And so Prabhupada was saying that devotee should have one good eye and one bad eye. Not to misunderstand this statement, that one of your eyes should be healthy and the other one not, but it means we should perceive, both the troubles and benefits of this world in Krishna conscious way, right? And so this is really important for us because this is the first step in living without conflict, is to become free from the duality of this world. And there are many, many verses in Bhagavad Gita. Actually, Bhagavad Gita speaks about the same truths repeatedly in many verses. It just goes in cycles, basically, right? But it's spiraling up, and so Krishna comes back to the same concepts, elaborating on them again and again to help us understand, help Arjuna understand, and us, hopefully also. And so, one of those concepts Krishna comes back to in Bhagavad Gita is duality of this world and importance of becoming free from the duality, right? There are probably a few dozens of verses wherein Krishna talks about this. And Srila Prabhupada kind of indicates in this verse and in this purport and in many other purports what is the technique behind becoming free from duality. And he's not giving this particular formula. This is something I came up with, but it's really effective and good one to meditate on. What is the way to overcome duality? First of all, we should have the desire to overcome the duality. Let's see how many of you want to be free from the duality of this world. Influence of the duality. Okay. And so the formula is as follows, that if you want to become free from so-called benefits and troubles of this world, you should see benefits in trouble And anyone can guess what's the other part of the formula? Trouble in benefits, that's right. And so it's very simple, right? And this is what Prabhupada recommends here, actually, in the purport. He explains that devotee is seeing troubles as Krishna's mercy, for example, right? So that's seeing benefits in trouble. And so if you see benefits in trouble, does the trouble remain trouble? No. You see it as good. You see it as Krishna's mercy. And if you see trouble in benefit, does that benefit remains to be benefit? No. So it neutralizes, right? So this world is always offering you benefits and troubles, but if you learn to counteract it in your mind, manaha, by seeing benefits and trouble and benefit, you can be free from that. And so, yeah. How do you do that? If you come across a trouble in your life, and that's pretty much inevitable, that this material world is such, is that if you don't have any trouble right now, you just have to wait for a little longer and it will happen, right? But then, troubles are compulsory, but suffering is optional, right? And so, it really works if you think of what is Krishna's mercy, right? Next time you come across any kind of trouble, whether it is physical or emotional or whatever other kind of trouble, social, just think about it, that how Krishna is benefiting me through that trouble. And it works really well. Anyone has this experience? That when you are in trouble, you ask yourself, so how am I benefiting? How is it Krishna showing me the mercy through that trouble? Yes? Gopavrinda Prabhu has experience. Would you like to share some example? Or anyone else? Anyone else tried that exercise in your mind, perceiving benefit and trouble? Anyone wants to share how it works? Okay.
I can't exactly remember what trouble I was going through, but some difficulty I was facing. Then I was thinking, now it is so easy for me to control my mind and senses, and I'm really praying to Krishna. So even though it is still it's a trouble, but it's good. At the end I was thinking it's nice.
Yes. That trouble means you remember Krishna, right? That's why Kunti Devi says, Vipadasam Tutashashvat Tatra Tatra Jadaguru, that let those troubles come again and again, because when troubles come, you also come. And when we can see you, and when we see you, we don't have to see repeated birth and death anymore, right? Apunarbhava Darshana. And so, we have that experience, right? How many of you had that experience that when you are in trouble, it's much easier to remember Krishna than when everything goes really well? Yeah? So this is why Krishna is sending troubles, right? So the simple answer to this very puzzling question so many people are asking, that why bad things happening to good people, what is the answer? It's very simple. To keep good people good. Yeah, because like do you know how the diamonds become created? You know, diamonds, they are created from the coal, right? And coal is really cheap stuff. But then the coal turns into diamonds. And how that happens? Under pressure. Yeah, exactly. So the pressure is good, right? And so that's why we should remember that motto of the American Marines: anything which doesn't kill us makes us stronger. So, yeah. And so, it's very beneficial. And firstly, when I was introducing this concept, I was thinking more in terms of, other people giving us trouble. Like someone becomes really inimical towards you, and you're taking part in Sunday feast, and everyone is served 2 gulab jamuns, and suddenly the server gives you only 1 gulab jamun, and you think how this kind of people exist on earth. Etc. But if you remember Krishna at that point, you can think, what is the benefit? Okay, my God, less gulab jamuns means less risk of diabetes. So this man is my friend. There are so many things. And so, there are so many examples in scripture how that happens. One example is one Brahmana devotee. He came to Ganga and he took his bath, and then he sat under a tree to chant his Gayatri. But there was one man who was really jealous of that devotee, and he was thinking, this guy is not real Vaishnava, he's just faking it. He's just faking to be a saint, but actually he's just, ordinary man. And so he climbed on the tree, and when this devotee started chanting his Gayatri, he started spitting on him from the top of the tree. And the devotee, surprisingly enough, didn't even look up who is doing that. He just stood up, and then he went to the Ganga and washed his clothes and took bath, changed, and then came back and sat under the same tree to chant his Gayatri. And that guy was thinking, he haven't got the message, so he started spitting on him again. And again, the devotee didn't even look up. He again went and to the Ganga, washed his clothes, took bath, changed, and came under the same tree and again sat there to continue chanting his Gayatri. And then this envious man realized that he is so tolerant and so peaceful, he must be a real saint. And it means I've committed serious offense. And so he climbed down from the tree and offered his obeisances to this devotee and apologized. And he said, it's amazing how come that you could tolerate my offense without... I was clean externally, but my mind was not clean. And then you started spitting on me, and I was thinking, okay, that my impurities are manifesting externally now. So that means I have to go back to Ganga and purify myself. So I went, I took bath, came again you were spitting on me, so I realized, okay, I'm not clean enough, I'm not pure enough, so I took another bath. And this time I came, I sat to chant my Gayatri, and you didn't spit on me, which was an indication that, okay, now I am qualified enough, I am pure enough to chant Gayatri. So by your mercy, I took 3 times bath in Ganga. Otherwise I would limit myself to 1 time only. So you actually helped me to become purified. So I should thank you for what you've done. So this is an example, right? How that does happen if you see everything as Krishna's mercy. And the fact of life is that every trouble is Krishna's mercy. And of course the biggest ever benefit we get from any trouble, as Gopavrindai Prabhu mentioned, is opportunity to think of Krishna. But troubles give other benefits also. Anyone can think of any other benefits trouble give?
Humility.
Yes, opportunity to become more humble. Any other benefits? What about developing tolerance? Yeah, does it give tolerance? Anything else?
Strength. Strength.
Yeah, inner strength. Any other benefits?
Purification of the soul.
Purification of the heart. Okay, any other benefits? Opportunity to stop identifying ourselves with the body and mind, right? It's also there. Because what gets in trouble? Body and mind. And volunteer tapasya, right? Tapasya is us. So there are unlimited benefits. And especially these ones we mentioned, opportunity to develop humility, tolerance. Well, these are the prerequisites for constantly chanting the holy name. I mean, what else do you want? Troubles gives you opportunity to remember Krishna and develop tolerance and humility. So that's why, if we really understand it, anyone who gives us trouble, we should be really grateful. And but sometimes these are not human beings. Somebody else gives us trouble, right? I got a really sore throat, and I had so much pain, and I couldn't even fall asleep. And I was very disturbed because one of my services was to translate for Russian devotees, to interpret for them, and I was thinking, how will I do that? Because it seemed like I'm losing my voice. And but then I remembered, okay, I'm teaching the devotees to see benefit in trouble. So I'm in trouble now, so maybe I should try that on myself. Which is a good idea. Right? Not only teaching, but also practicing what you teach. And then, I was just lying, I couldn't fall asleep, and I started kind of meditating, what are the benefits from this trouble? Okay, I remember Krishna, maybe I'm remembering Krishna in a complaining fashion, right? Complaining to Krishna, why have you done that? But still thinking of Krishna, which is great. And developing humility and tolerance and not identifying myself with the body, etc., etc. And overcoming mode of ignorance. I'm not falling asleep, so I'm still conscious. And I could be just lying in bed all this time being fully conscious. It's great. I became immune to ignorance due to that. And I was thinking about all these things, and then at some point I fell asleep, which was an indication that the pain was going down. And when I woke up, I realized that, not much problem is there, just maybe little inflammation, but I can speak and it goes down obviously with no medicine whatsoever. And then after an hour I completely forgot that I even had that. And I thought, oh, this was like such a insignificant thing, and I made a big issue out of it in my mind. But then I actually learned that it's a serious virus which affected many devotees in the campus. And one of the devotees, he's a very popular singer, Kirtaniya. He was expected to lead Kirtan, and he got that virus, and he couldn't even, what to speak of singing, he couldn't even speak. And so he had to cancel all his Kirtans. And so I realized I got the same thing, but I just got over it in few hours, and other devotees, they were suffering from it for days. Maybe it took them a week or so to get over it. And so I'm not saying that if you meditate on the benefits from trouble, then it is 100% guaranteed that the trouble will go away so easily. It may not happen. But even if it doesn't happen, if you realize the benefits, you will stop worrying about it, right? And so, in the same way, if we see trouble in benefit, we will not be caught by Maya, right? And so this is the first step in resolving conflicts for ourselves, becoming free from the duality. So anyone has any questions on this subject? Or it's all pretty clear? Yes?
Whenever the troubles come, it's when the mind is peaceful, it's easy to understand mercy is there, positive things are there. But certain times the mind is not so peaceful to understand. And then you're just complaining and blaming others and doing so many things.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
is that a normal process, or is that something need to be done about it?
Yes. Yeah, it's a good question. That's why it says that prevention is better than cure. And so one really big thing, this verse is saying that we should be not only undisturbed in happiness and distress, but also free from attachment, fear, and anger, right? And these things are coming from each other. Like attachment creates fear, and fear creates anger. And actually, fear and anger are the two sides of the same coin, right? That's why it says in military, they say that best defense is offense, right? Instead of waiting for the enemy to attack you, you attack your enemy first, right? But why they are attacking? Because they are afraid that they will get attacked. So fear and anger are connected to each other. And so, actually, we are practicing the topmost yoga system, as Prabhupada says, Bhakti Yoga, and therefore Bhakti Yoga is very powerful media which gives us, Bhakti Yoga is kind of limited in terms of physical postures, asanas. We don't do many asanas, right? At least not as many as they do in Hatha Yoga. Of course, like we're sitting, it's called Sukhasana, right, for example. Some asanas are there, but just very few. because Bhakti Yoga is kind of simplified physically, but it's not to underestimate the power of those asanas. And I was very surprised when I learned about one of the asanas which we are doing and how beneficial it is for becoming free from anger and agitation and irritation. Anyone has this problem, like the fits of anger, etc.? Okay. Anyone wants to know how to get rid of it forever? Okay. So, I've learned about it because one of the famous yogis and yoga teachers shared his own personal experience. I'm sure many of you know about Swami Shivananda. And so he said he was extremely angry man when he was young. He was really passionate. And when he started, just to give an illustration how, easily he was agitated and irritated, when he started learning yoga, his teacher corrected him on something and he got so angry that he ran home to kill him because he dared to correct him, right? This is like really high level of anger. And the teacher just looked at him and he smiled and he said, okay, I can see you have problems with anger, fits of rage. Anyway, don't worry, I'll give you one asana. If you do this asana, you'll forget about your anger forever. It will just disappear. And then he said, this secret asana is called Shashanka Asana. And in Bhakti Yoga, we do this asana every single day. What is this asana? It's Panchanga Asana, Panchanga Namaskar, right? When we bow down and all asana, you should keep yourself pressed to the floor as low as possible, right? And one should stay in that position for a while. And he explains why this Shashankasana is so powerful. Actually, in yoga, in Hatha Yoga, it's such an, probably those of you who had experience, you know that it looks like a wave which comes to your head, right? And covers you. And then you cannot think straight after that, right? Actually, there is a physical reason for that, because it is adrenaline in the blood. That's all. It's just chemical reactions. And the adrenaline glands are normalizing the adrenaline production in your body. And your adrenaline level becomes normal. Because high adrenaline, it is either fear or anger. As we said, it's the same thing, right? Fight or flight. So that's high adrenaline. And low adrenaline is depression. If you do this Shashanka exercise regularly, you will see the result. That you will be as cool as cucumber in any circumstance, right? And in Bhakti Yoga, how do we start our day? Brahmacharis know the standard. What do we do the first thing after we wake up?
We pay obeisances to Lord Maharaj.
Yes, paying obeisances, right? To be engaged in the service during the day. And what is the last thing we do before going to sleep?
Same thing.
Paying obeisances. And what's the meditation?
Thank you so much for protection.
Yeah, offering. the results of our service to our spiritual master and Krishna, right? And meditating on what we have done. So it's meant to be kind of meditative activity, right? But sometimes, like we are late, we're in rush, and we just do it very casually, very formally. But if you do it casually or formally, it doesn't have the effect. That's the trick. In the same way, if you just casually and formally chant the japa, it's not going to have such an effect. So Bhakti Yoga is really powerful. But its powers of staying in Shashankasana, asking for blessings, and 5 minutes in the evening staying in Shashankasana and offering the results of your services to the spiritual master, Krishna, Vaishnavas, etc. That should be enough. Just 10 minutes a day. And the only counterindication physically is high blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure, then you should do it with the help of someone who is expert in yoga. Otherwise, there are no counterindications. And welcome. So on physical level, it's quite easy to control anger, fear, emotions. So anyone else has any questions, or we should move on? Actually, there is, of course, there are many facets to this topic, but due to kind of cultural training, we might not goes wrong, we just told. But if you suppress the anger, it's grudge or resentment. Our Krishna consciousness and for our lives, right? Our mind is, this is the direction, you become like those people you make friends with. Like if you treat someone like or something, and then suddenly the same problem this person. And I think, actually it's a conclusion which one, she has PhD in anthropology, means she's studying the biggest problem. And what does gossip means? Right? Because Jews also, so double benefit. The tendency or habit, because you judge somebody else behind that person's back, and all you achieve is you ruin the trust of the person you're talking to, because he or she is thinking you are gossiping